about that. I'm experiencing a little bit of technical difficulties. I'm actually really bummed out. I just hit the wrong button by accident. I erased last night's live, and it really is bothering me because I had a decent live last night. Oh boy, I'm having a lot of troubles lately with the technology. Isn't my thing, you know. So I was saying, my name is Bill. I'm 57 years old. I reside in Boston, Massachusetts. I was born and raised in Massachusetts. I try to do certain things, recovery, addiction, and I tell a little bit about my story and, some other things that I've learned over the years from using and abusing drugs, per se, alcohol. I really never was a drinker, but, sometimes I do like a chill chat, questions and answers also. If anyone has any questions or answer, can tell me something, or one needs to ask a question about recovery or addiction, go ahead, shoot. I don't mind. So I was raised in Boston. I'm 57 years old. My childhood was good. I had good teenage years. I never really was into drugs or alcohol as a kid. I think I was 22 years old when I first started experimenting, like with cocaine. And I think it was like 2 years, and then someone introduced me to heroin, which back then it was heroin. Fentanyl wasn't even heard of. It was during the OxyContin, the epidemic when the Purdue was punching out those oxys like they were Skittles, And through my using and abusing drugs, I ended up in trouble. Probation. I served time. Multiple offenses for possession and distribution of drugs. Basically in a supermax jail, because the local jail around here is a supermax. It's a county jail, but it's basically a supermax. 23, I think it's 22-hour lockdown a day. When you first get in there, there is no TVs in the cells. There is no electricity for like a radio or a Walkman. I know now it's a little different up there. I heard they got tablets and things like that. But when I first started going there, the place was kind of fairly newly open. And you didn't get much of anything. If you had a job, luckily as an inmate to earn good time, that's how you earn 7.5 days a month, good time, but you'd be also out of your cell. I did have a job in the unit. I was a worker. They call it a worker, a unit worker, but inmates would call it a bond boss. I handed out jobs to different inmates. Guys wanted a job. I could maybe talk to the counselor in the unit and hand out jobs. So it kind of had its perks. I'm really about wanting to help younger kids and, going into early adulthood to stay away from drugs and alcohol. It's a nowhere road. It's definitely not something I want to see anyone get involved in. It really took me for a ride. I lost my brother in 2000 to a drug overdose. I've lost multiple friends. I think I have more friends buried up the street in the local cemetery than I do have alive today. I started the Suboxone in 2008, and I was on them until 2021 when the pandemic hit. Hello, how you doing? And what happened was when the pandemic came around, my doctor was an older gentleman, and he decided that it was time for him to retire and close his practice. So I didn't really have anywhere to turn because in order to get on Suboxone, you have to go through, like a process of signing up and waiting and getting a physical and blood work, and no one was open because of the pandemic. So the only opportunity I had that was out there is getting on the methadone clinic, which I'm still on today. That was in 2021. So that would be 6 years ago. I'm currently in the process of weaning off the methadone with help of, the nurses, the doctor, and the clinicians at my clinic. I'm striving to be, hopefully this time next year, 100% off any medically assisted recovery drugs, which is MAR. That's the program I'm in. Obviously, it stands for medically assisted recovery. That's also something new for people that want to do meetings. I know that AA and NA. How you doing? AA and NA it's good, but they sometimes look down on people that are on like Vivitrol or Suboxone or Subutex or Methadose or Methadone. And some of them old school AA and NA guys will say, you know, you're not 100% sober because you're using this other drug to, they say, you know, you replace one with the other. And methadone or Suboxone is definitely not street heroin or fentanyl. Anyone that's been in recovery or in addiction knows it's not the same. 100% complete different thing. So someone came up with the idea of MAR, which is medically assisted recovery. There's meetings online. You can do meetings in person. You just got to use Google to find them. I do them online, actually. I just set this platform up about 3 weeks ago. One of my counselors said, you know, you should think about maybe doing it on YouTube, you know. And I said, I'll give it a shot. It's harder than you think. You know, first off, you know, you gotta set up the channel. You gotta get people to subscribe and like on the videos. You gotta get 50 people just to listen to you at first for a while, just in order to go live and stream. I've been uploading shorts every day. It took me a couple of weeks to get the people. I'm actually at maybe 85 or 86 people that subscribed right now. I thank everyone that is subbed to the channel. You know, keep going, like on it, subscribe, leave comments. Hopefully tell your friends about it. If you know someone that needs some help with drugs or alcohol, this is definitely the channel to swing by. You know, I just want to give back, like, to people for, you know, not things that I did, but just anyone that needs help, you know. I'm willing to help, whether it's a stranger, a family member, a friend, anybody. It's something that I'm kind of passionate about. I feel I want to return the favor that was done for me. I do live in the Boston area, but I have a lot of connections with detoxes and clinicians, actually doctors. So if someone needs some help, you can hit me up at my email. It's the same as my channel name, at bostonbill@gmail.com. Drop me a line. I'll give you my phone number. We can talk and we can go from there. If anyone has any questions, go ahead, shoot in the comments. I will answer them the best I can. Other than that, some of my story. Okay, like I said, I started using heroin when I was, I believe, 22 years old. And over the years, you know, during them years of me heading towards 30, I was in and out of multiple rehabs. I think I've been to detox over 100 times. This is like before you even needed insurance. They had a local one here in the area called Catholic Charities. And it was a 8-day detox that, you know, the state paid for. I used to be a frequent flyer up there, in and out, in and out, in and out. And then after that, I started getting in trouble. That's when I started getting arrested. I've been arrested a good handful of times for possession and distribution of both Class A and Class B, which is heroin and cocaine. I've never had an arrest record prior to that, so usually I'd get probation, but I never made the probation because I would be using drugs, and you'd have urine tests, and of course I'd fail all the urine tests, and that would be the end of that. So I believe I was at the Norfolk County House of Correction at least 5 times incarcerated there, and I was at one other incarceration. I was down at the state prison in Bridgewater, Mass. This is many, many moons ago. Now it is going on 20 years since I've had handcuffs on, any type of trouble with any law enforcement, anyone in general, period. Thank God that I finally decided to stop using drugs. It definitely changed my life for the better. I'm not a preacher, like on meetings and stuff. For me, meetings are boring, you know, okay? Like AA and NA meetings to me are boring. The MAR program ones ain't so bad because, you know, it's people that are on Suboxone or methadone or Methadose or Subutex, and they're doing their own program. I haven't used drugs in, I want to say, since 2008. I think I relapsed once, maybe twice, and that's 20 years. And the statistics on opiate relapses are basically 90% of people that use opiates, basically heroin, now it's fentanyl, are going to relapse. Some don't even go back. Some use and never stop. They either end up dying or they just keep using, and that's just how it's going. I believe most people do need to get on something in the beginning just to help them. I think it's kind of ridiculous that, you get on the clinics and you see people that are on there 30 years or 20 years. That's too long. In my book, it's too long. The Suboxone I was on from '08 until 2021, and then I've switched to the methadone program during the pandemic year, 2021. Now I'm working on getting weed off of it. It gets kind of tiring. I'm up at 4 a.m. every day. My ride comes and gets me at 6 a.m. to go to the clinic, and it's 6 days a week. So that's 6 days a week that I'm up at 4 a.m. every morning, getting ready, have my coffee, have a cigarette, wait for your buddy to come pick you up, take you to the clinic, boom, boom, you're in and out the door in 5 minutes. They give you one take home on Saturday for Sunday because they're closed. You can get take homes like for the whole month, but it's kind of a pain because when you get the take homes, they do what they call a callback, and if they have a callback or a urine, you got to turn over your take homes until the urine comes back clean. So it's like, why not just go there and get your dose? So that's what I do. Go out for breakfast or whatever after, but still, you are getting up 6 days a week at 4 a.m. People that don't like to get up early probably wouldn't like it too much. They are open till 9:30 or 10 o'clock, so if you don't want to go that early, you don't have to. I prefer to go before the big crowd gets there, waiting in a line. It's like in and out. You can't hang around on the property. You can't even talk to people there because you will be thrown off. No cameras, no videos or anything like that because of HIPAA laws. So my next thing I want to talk about is what I have planned for my audience and for this channel. What I want to do is I ordered some equipment, other than just like a phone to make some videos, but I already talked to some people in both areas, and I'm going to be going to the street to get some raw footage. I'm going to go down to the Methadone Mile, which is located in Boston, down by the Boston City Hospital, and they have the big homeless encampment down there. And I know some people down there, and I made some phone calls, and they said, it'd be absolutely good to come down and get some people's story from the other side, people that are living on the street, inactive in addiction. And I'm also going to be going to Tent City in a city called Brockton, Massachusetts. That's another big homeless camp that I do know a lot of people up there because a lot of them are on the same clinic that I go to. We do group, so the people that I'm in group with, I've been talking to them. And I asked them, to put the word out there. I just don't want to be walking around with a camera filming people and then saying, hey, I'm going to put you guys on, YouTube for everyone to see. And people are like, nah, have them come up, So I'm going to go up and do some street interviews, get some raw footage up at like Tent City in Brockton and Methadone Mile in Boston. I'm just kind of waiting for the weather to clear up because it's we got 2 feet of snow for people that ain't from this area. It's really cold out. I think it's been like average between 12 and 25 degrees. Today was actually really nice. I think it was 45 degrees today. It felt like summer, but it's really cold out there. If you go out there right now, it's freezing. So soon enough, it'll be spring here and I can do some of what I've been planning to do. So does anyone have any questions about addiction or medications that they can use for getting off of drugs? Or, if you want, I can continue telling some of my story. It's been a long journey. Incarceration, I don't know. I've seen a lot of ugly things when I was locked up. That's another reason why the kids today compared to the kids back in the day, sad to say, but the kids are soft today. I hate to say it that way, but they are. I know I have 2 kids, 23, and one that's going to be going on 17 soon. And kids are totally different. They're girls, but I know, like, just in general, kids are so different these days. Like, I don't see kids anymore out on their bicycles or going down in the woods on a Friday night with a case of beer to make a bonfire. Everyone's in their house, glued to their phone, glued to their, what is it, PlayStation 5 or their laptop. You know, kids don't want to be out there doing anything. It's like totally different these days. And I definitely don't want to see any kids getting hooked on hard drugs or even alcohol. As a matter of fact, is even a bad choice to be doing. I watched my uncle drink himself to death, and God, that alcohol's a scary thing. I never realized how bad alcohol can screw you up. You know, that stuff really changes your looks and everything. Get that wet brain. He didn't even know where he was half the time. He was really messed up pretty bad on. I think he was drinking 101 proof rum, like half gallon or so, or to a gallon daily, and he was pretty much out there all the time. I felt bad for the poor guy. Passed away 3 years ago. So a little more of my story was my upbringing. I grew up in a real good neighborhood with a lot of kids. And, you know, like I said, when I was younger, I didn't have a lot of involvement with drugs or alcohol. I smoked very little bit of pot maybe when I was younger, weed, but that was it. I didn't start doing any heavier drugs till I was like 22 years old, the cocaine, and then I was introduced to heroin. I grew up in a dominantly Italian area, like all the families were related and everyone knew each other. So my upbringing was really good. But in my family alone, there was four of us. There was four boys. I'm the youngest of four. There's three of us left alive, but yet all three of us are on the methadone clinic. My oldest brother goes to the same clinic I go to. My brother that's under him had passed away, and the one that's under him goes to another clinic in the same city. And that kind of shows you where, like, the neighborhood turned around and everyone was abusing drugs. I lost my best friend of 45 years, four or 5 years ago, not to drugs, but to a heart attack. He died on his 49th birthday of a major heart attack. But he was away. He was in the federal pen up in Pennsylvania for 5 or 6 years. He had committed a bank robbery because he was using drugs. And when he got out, he was sober, clean. 1 year, he was doing great. And poor kid died that morning of his 49th birthday of a heart attack. And that really kind of, broke my psyche a little bit, you could say. I was hanging around with this kid since I was 5 years old. We grew up doing dirt bikes, motocross, street bikes, eventually Harley Davidsons. We loved to ride bikes. And he's gone, So I've been kind of like the lone wolf the past 4 or 5 years. I got some friends out there, but you never have that one friend that you always have when you're a teenage kid. But he was my friend from, the beginning of school, actually, 1 through 5, junior high school, high school. Even after that, watched his kids get raised and everything else. It kind of bums me out. It was a hard situation for me to talk about. I kind of get filled up when I think about it. But moving on from that, I want to kind of keep a smile on my face. So once again, my name is Bill. Like I said, I'm from Boston, Mass. Into recovery. I am on the methadone clinic. I try my best to help anyone that has anything to do with drugs or alcohol. I'm willing to donate endless time into helping somebody, especially the younger kids. I don't want to see anyone screwed up on drugs or alcohol. It's a real bad it's a bad situation when someone starts getting strung out. You gotta be ready to deal with it. I know they say tough love, which is true because it had to happen to me, but also you gotta be ready to fight for that person, whether it's your sister, your brother, your mother, your father, because it's gonna be a battle. I don't believe there's a one time, if you know someone that went into a detox one time and came out and never used again, that's a miracle. That's a walking miracle. I actually have people telling me now that run the clinic that I'm a miracle, and it's just because the amount of time I have under my belt sober. Like I said earlier to you guys, opiates, when people are in recovery, they end up relapsing, but most times when they relapse, they don't recover again. they either die from a drug overdose or they just continue to use. Sometimes they don't even tell anyone that they're relapsed, but usually you can tell when it's someone you know that is using and abusing drugs. It's not too hard to figure it out. Obviously, people would know what I'm doing because I wouldn't be here, number one. This wasn't my thing. I am a little nervous. You got to cut me some slack. Like I said, I'm new to all this, being on a camera and everything. This is probably I think this is my second time or third time going live. I actually had a good one last night. I had a good amount of people in the house, and I was just trying to figure out the camera, and I just erased the video right off YouTube. I'm so bummed out right now. And hopefully tonight this one can stick around too, you know. I'm trying to get this platform out to a lot of people. I know they say YouTube will push it out to the algorithm, but you're supposed to do like a lot of lives. I can't stay on here for hours on end. I know there's a lot of guys that stream for 8, 6, 7 hours. I'm older. I don't have it in me. I'm 57 years old. I usually try to get an hour on here, and, you know, that's kind of good enough for me. I do have other things to do other than just, you know, sit and talk to a telephone all day. I love what I'm doing here, but I can't stay on 6 hours a day. I'd probably, you know, my brain would rot off. I would run out of things to talk about. And like I said, I want to share my knowledge with people and my experiences, what I've been through. So hopefully that someone else that's either thinking about or is like currently using drugs that needs help and doesn't know where to turn or thinks it's going to cost $1 million. The only thing I will say is there's a lot of programs out there that are free. Some people don't have no idea what they are, like the RAPS program or the SOAR program. You know, and they're not just in this state. I've done some of my homework, and I know, like Seattle, Washington, California, there's shelters, there's detoxes, there's a thing now they're doing where you can contact these people. They'll come and pick you up. They will take you to a detox, and if you do complete the detox program and have your letter of last dose letter, they will come pick you back up and take you back home. So there's plenty of opportunity out there for people to get sober. You just kind of people need to know where it is. And I kind of here to give that opportunity and that help, because I want to take what I know and give it back to people. You know, if I can do anything, like I was saying, my motto is if I can save one person, boy, girl, kid, older adult, from going down the path that I went down, my job is done. I can die a happy person, you know. I just think now, like, I realize life is way too precious to just throw it away and give all our hard-earned money to someone else when we you know, we deserve a lot more. As human beings, we need to live the best life we can live. You get on drugs, alcohol, you're just going to be miserable. And I'm not one of those guys that hops on people that do go out, because like I said, there's nothing wrong with going out on the weekends with your buddies and having some cocktails and whatever. If I liked alcohol, I probably would go out and have a few cold beers. I just don't like the feeling alcohol gives me. Not so much the buzz, but the hangover. I can't stand the way alcohol makes me sick, actually. I think I'm allergic to alcohol. I drink, and I'm in bed for 2 days afterwards with the worst hangover ever. And I can't do it anymore. The older I get, like, I'm kind of falling apart. I'm retired at 57 years old, and the reason being is when I hit 50, I was a building manager for a few apartment complexes. And I had to give up the job, and it was a great job because I was not only getting paid a salary, but I had a free apartment to boot. And that I had to give it all up because of my legs. What had happened to me, I got something called neuropathy lymphedema, the circulation issue with my lower legs from like the knee down on both legs. I had surgery on both legs 2 summers ago. You know, it's lousy. I had to hire a lawyer and go through all the rigmarole with courts. They ended up deeming me 100% disabled. I do get a check every month, which is nice, but, you know, I'd rather be out there working every day, you know, making a lot more money, obviously. I've been real lucky with people in my life, and, you know, to have a roof over my head, and a few nice things, nothing major, but it beats some of the things I see people going through. I really, really feel bad for people that are homeless, people that have nowhere to go every day. And I see it. I see it every day. Like I said, I go by this place called Tent City every morning, and easily there's 25 to 30 people all standing under a bridge, basically shivering. I know they go out at night. They hand out blankets. They give them guys warming stations. They build these warming stations for the people to go in and get warm. I think they use like butane heaters right now. This is like in the city of Brockton, Massachusetts. I don't really know what they do in Methadone Mile. I heard that they're actually built something in the old morgue in the city for the people to go in at night, and they're called warming stations, and they're using that because you'd freeze to death right now sleeping outside. Like, I think it's like 9 degrees at night outside here lately. It's really, really cold right now, so it's not the best weather to be outside at night. And I'm really looking forward, like I said, to going down to the Methadone Mile and the Tent City up in Brockton and doing some interviews with people, because I believe the content will be really good, and it'll be much better for people to get like a street view of what's going on out there. There's a lot of fentanyl it is right now that's really popular, and that stuff is dropping people like flies. I can name 7 people in the last 2 years that have passed away. Like, I see people at the clinic every day, and all of a sudden you notice a face is missing there and a face is missing here. And that, you'll ask someone, hey, where's so-and-so? And gone, and their age ranges from like 18 to 30 to 35 years old. These people that I know are gone, and it's like, just blows my mind. A lot of them have kids and they were married, and it's just like that one time. A lot of it's these pre-pressed pills that's going around. The Perk 30s are out there. They're fake. People think they're buying Perk 30s, and all it is, it's fentanyl in a pill form, and it's killing people. It's dropping them like flies. You got to be real careful what you're putting in your body. Even pot these days has fentanyl in it. You got to watch out what you're smoking, even if you're smoking weed. I know I got a buddy that has a few kids, and he won't even let his kids smoke weed if they buy it off the street. He'll go to the dispensary and get it from them, just for the fact that fentanyls and everything. They have these test kits that they give out at the clinics. I'm going to see if I can find one and show you guys. They have these test kits they give out, and what it does, it tests for fentanyl, and it's pretty crazy that they're giving these kits out to us at clinic for people that do still use, to test if there's fentanyl in the stuff you're using, so you don't end up dying. And this is one of them right here. This is called a fentanyl test kit, and what you do is it's called Wise Batch, and it's called harm reduction is what it says on the package, and they give you these at the clinic. And what it is for you to do is you take a small amount of the dope you're using, you put it in a spoon, and you add water, and it's got a strip inside of it. I think I can open this up and show you guys. I guess I might need a pair of scissors. I think I have one here. It got a little small spoon in it and a test strip, I believe, inside. Let me just get it open. I can show you guys what it's about. And it's not much of anything with this. This is what it is here. There's the strip. So they give you, it's this little strip right here, but this strip here could save your life. It basically is just a strip that you stick in water with the drug that you're going to use, and it will tell you if there is fentanyl in the spoon, and if there is, you're taking the risk of using it. I think it's kind of crazy that they give those out, but I guess it's better than someone dropping dead on you. I don't know, is the picture clear for you guys right now? Because I'm getting a lot of glitching on my end. Like, my end is actually freezing up, and I don't know if it's happening to you guys. Am I freezing up on you guys, or is it just on my end? No? Okay. I guess not. Yeah, I'm frozen right now. Is this working for you guys? Can someone tell me if the screen's working or is it frozen? I might have to restart the stream. All right, listen, guys, it keeps glitching on me. I don't know if I'm having an issue with this. Is it frozen on me or is it still working? This is terrible. This is like YouTube's been having trouble with glitching. Yeah, it's working. Okay. So I was saying they do give these test strips out at the clinic, so you can, you can test your stuff and make sure it's not, got fentanyl in it. That stuff is killing people. So it's getting kind of crazy. And like I said, I apologize. I had a few things going on that I shouldn't even have probably come on tonight. I just got a phone call before I started my first stream. I had to stop it, so I restarted the stream. Actually, speaking of, someone I know right now just had called me, and someone is looking for a ride to a detox, but they have to find a bed. And I'm talking to you guys, and I'm looking down at a tablet, and I'm actually searching it's called the Mass Detox Bed List, and I found the guy a bed, and I'm just kind of like messaging this person's sister to let him know that he's got to pack his bags and get ready. And it looks like, I guess I'm going to be going to get him and driving him there. So it's kind of, my nerves get a little shocked because I know I'm going to be dealing with, someone that's probably whacked out of their mind, irate. They're not too happy with their sister. That they gave an ultimatum and said, either you got to go like today or you got to get out of my house. And I get it. It's the tough love thing. Of course, it's going to land in my lap. She already said to me, I'm not going with you guys. So it looks like I'm going to pick this guy up by myself. But it's not that I'm afraid of getting in a confrontation. It's just that I know how it goes. It's like dealing with a drunk guy. And we've probably all dealt with someone that has drank before. Yeah, how you doing, Willis? So, how it goes, I'm going to be dealing with him screaming and yelling. He don't want to go. Chances are I don't think he's going to be getting out and running from the car, but it has happened to me. And I'm not the cops. I'm not chasing anybody. You want to get out and run, you run. But I'm going down to some place called Plymouth, and it's a good little ride from where I live. So if he wants to get himself stranded out there, that's on him. But he seems to want to go because he has no option. But, I got to deal with the babysitting aspect for 45 minutes. Hopefully the guy just wants to have a good talk and I can give him some information that'll, make him want to go because it's the best decision you'll ever make. I've been doing something now this last year and right before the new year, actually. I've been volunteering my time, and I've been going and staying at the detoxes with the patients. I actually go live there. I dealt with some people in politics, and they allowed me to go in there. It had to go through the state and everything. But the director of the clinic I go to said, hey, you know what, this would be a good idea if you maybe volunteer and go in. It's an all-male facility. There's no females there. And I think there's 32 guys that I've been going in and helping out, more than just me. But on my end of it, I actually go in, I pack my bag, I stay there for 8 days with them, and I go through, when they're going through their withdrawals, I'm right there for them. I actually have a room that I sleep in with 3 other guys that are volunteers. So the only thing I don't do is sleep with the patients, just because they have to be in their own rooms in case, they get sick at night or something goes down. The medical staff can get to them. There's nurses there 24 hours a day. I think there's 2 12-hour shifts. There's a doctor on hand. There's orderlies. But that's what I've been doing, like, to keep busy. We run groups. We run like 6, 7 groups a day on different topics. Sometimes we listen to music or we show a movie to do with recovery. They have 12 cigarette breaks a day. The guys have to be taken outside. You are in a caged-in area when we go outside. I guess that's just for safety. You're not made to stay there. You're not sectioned there, because I know what a Section 35 is. That's when you go to court and you're sectioned for 30 days to a detox. That's across the street. We're working on it, but I haven't yet been able to get the permission to stay there. But really, it's 30 days. It's kind of a long time to be locked up somewhere when you don't have to be there. I was sectioned back in the day, but it's not to the same place. When I went back in the day, it was to a state prison. That was the only place they had for the guys to go back in the day. So at least now they have a nice detox they can go to, a lot better than when I ended up. So I think I did 4 times I've been there since 2025, 2026. So I volunteered my own personal time and I went up there and I stayed, the 8 days with the guys. I've made a lot of good connections. I've met some real good people. And a few of the guys that I've seen are still active in going to meetings, and they're on the clinic now. They signed up for the methadone clinic, and they're doing good for themselves, which is good because a few of them were younger kids. I know one was 21, one was 24, one was 26. And I think from me talking to them and kind of getting in their head a little bit, they decided this is what they need because, these guys go in for 8 days. That's like considered a spin dry for anyone that's been in this game before. 8 days is definitely not long enough for someone to go away, get clean, and think, oh, I'm done. You got to really put the work in. I think the best thing is to go into a detox for 8 days to 14 days and maybe go to like a 2-week program afterwards, which they have like a CSS, they call it. You go to a CSS for 2 weeks and then maybe to like a halfway house. It takes a while for your brain to rewire itself. They say at least a year. Your way of thinking changes, your way of doing things changes. I mean, it's been almost 20 years for me, and I still think kind of crazy too, but it's idle time too. And this is what I'm saying about idle time is dangerous. And I am retired. I can't work anymore. And, sometimes you get a little crazy, it's tough. It's tough. I want to see people do good. I was always kind of like a class clown when I was in high school, an easygoing guy. And sometimes people see me and I tell them what I'm doing now. And they're like, you of all people? I was like Spicoli in high school, I had the long hair like the kid in Fast Times at Ridgemont High, I smoked a lot of pot in high school. I wasn't like a studio kid, you know what I mean? I wasn't a study buddy or anything like that. I was into my heavy metal music and all that good stuff. But now my way of thinking's changed. My heart's changed. I just really want people to understand that drugs are no good. They say in my world, like they say dead, drugs will get you dead. But what I mean is drugs end all dreams. And that's true. That's dead. And it really is true because there's no future in using drugs at all, especially the fentanyl. That stuff is so bad. I mean, people say, oh yeah, it's a bad drug, but like physically what it does to you, 80% of people that are using IV drugs out there are getting hepatitis C, which is really bad for you. That stuff can kill your liver. I know they do have a cure for it now. There's pills out there. They have the antiferon, which you can do an IV. But why get it in the first place if you don't have to, A lot of health issues come with using and abusing drugs. It screws up your sleep pattern, just anything. You get abscesses. People ain't using clean needles. They end up getting infections or, even HIV. I know a couple of people that have lost fingers, toes. They get big holes, in their arms. They're healed up, but they got these big scars from where they used to repeatedly keep using IV drugs. Knock on wood, I've never caught anything like that. I've been tested. I'm tested pretty much all the time now for my own benefit. I go get physicals. It's like mandatory. You got to get 2 physicals a year from your regular doctor and the doctor at the clinic. And I do that. I do both. I'm actually happy that you do have to do that because, I'm getting older now and I'm worried about my health. I do want to be here for a good amount of years more. Everyone around me is getting older. I'm like the last of my family. My oldest brother's almost 70 years old. My mother's 85 years old. My father's already deceased. He died at 65. That's kind of young. I lost another brother, like I said, at 40 years old to a drug overdose. So, I'm just trying to, like I said, I'm trying to save somebody, if not anybody. Doesn't matter whether I know you or not, I don't I really just want to help someone. Excuse me, I'm just kind of taking my shoes off right now for a quick minute. My feet are kind of bothering me. Um, I want to be able to help someone, give a hand. It doesn't matter whether you're a stranger or someone I've known for 20 years. And I don't judge anybody because I was judged in the past. I know there's people that I went to school with, I grew up with, and they see me coming and say, "Oh, geez." I had one kid ask me like right straight out, and it kind of broke my heart. Like I was clean and I was doing great, and I said, "Oh, seen this guy coming at some local restaurant, and he had no problems with it." And the first thing he says to me, he's like, "Hey, you still a junkie?" Like, imagine saying that to someone that you went to school with. And if you know me, I'm a big teddy bear, but you get me pissed off, you might get hurt. I'm not a small guy. I stand at 6'4", 342 pounds. I got a size 14 and a half foot. I'm not a little dude. I wouldn't want a guy my size getting mad at me, chasing me down some alley. But that's what he said to me. Like, it broke my heart. Like, in line at a pizza shop, he's like, "You're not still a junkie, are you?" And then went into the, "Hey, well, I'm glad you're doing good." Like, ask me something else first. Like, "Are you okay? You need anything? How you been? I've heard some things, but hopefully you're doing better." Yeah, of course I'm doing better now. I'm not like a certified addiction specialist or a counselor. I do consider myself somewhat of a recovery coach. Reason being is because I've been through it. I am in recovery. I've been in recovery for some time now. I have been talking to some people. I think I'm a little older to be maybe going back to school. They say it's never too late. I have a few of the counselors where I go saying like maybe, "Hey, you ever thought about being like an addiction specialist or a recovery coach?" I would love to do that. But if I'm doing this, for me, it's good enough for me. They know about this channel. Like I said, this channel's brand new. Like, I just set this up within the last 3 weeks. And now I'm bummed out because, like I said, I did a live last night and it really went good. And I accidentally erased it about 10 minutes ago. And if, you guys probably know, like, YouTube pushes your algorithm. And the more you do, like, you put out, the farther it gets pushed. And I'd like to get this channel going to have more people like at night. I'd like to see the numbers go up to 100. I think once I start going out in the street and supplying like raw footage from the street, it'll start rocking. Like, if you guys can do me a huge favor and talk to friends, let them know, if they need help, anything, just subscribe to the channel, leave comments. But the more subs I get, the better it will be for me because I can reach more people. And people, like you guys know, like the whole world needs help right now. There's a lot of people on opiates, and it can be medication too, like prescribed meds. Pain meds are usually the start of most people's journey down the road to addiction. When Purdue Pharma come out with those OxyContins, they were handing those things out like they were bags of M&Ms. And so many guys that get injured on jobs were getting prescriptions for those oxys, and they'd keep them on. Like, my brothers all were sandhogs. I don't know if you guys know what that is, but they all worked in the Big Dig here in Boston, Mass, when that was going on. The job that was supposed to take like 4 years that lasted almost 20. Anyone and everyone that was working on that job and got hurt in there, they were on either oxycodone or OxyContin. And then after a year, they'd take you off of those, and it just turned into the whole, like, union was on heroin. It was bananas. I wasn't in the union, but I know a lot of the guys that were, and that's what everyone was doing. And some of them I still see today on the clinics, or they're getting the Vivitrol shot, trying to do the right thing. But it's a hard drug to stay away from, because if any of you guys have used in the past, like the minute you start doing that stuff, like, it seems like it takes all your problems away. You don't feel anymore. It kind of like numbs you from things you got going on in your life. But that's the whole thing. It's a temporary fix, but it's really not a fix. Do you kind of get what I'm saying? Like, you may think, "Oh, it's a little easier now that I'm doing it." It's not. You're just creating more problems for yourself down the line. Eventually you're going to end up in either handcuffs or in a rehab, or even worse, you're going to end up in a cemetery. And that's the God's honest truth. Like, I hate the idea when I go up to visit my buddy or my brother, they're buried like 20 feet apart, you know. The name of the cemetery I go to is St. Mary's, and I walk around and I can count an easy 20 headstones of people I know, and they're all under the age of, you know, 50 and down. Like, you're not supposed to die that early in your life. It's crazy, you know, 18, 25, 32. It's like, what is going on with all these people, you know? It's kind of wild. It's really kind of wild. Last night I get into some of my family things that were going on. I think maybe like tomorrow I'm going to do a little more research. I go through my journals. I used to write journals all the time, and I've been like, I got boxes full of them from over the almost 20 years that I've been doing this and trying to, you know, keep the stories good and like keep people eager to hang on. And I was talking a lot about my dad last night and like the Irish mob and my older brothers, because them guys all grew up in the city, like in Dorchester or South Boston. The people I was hanging with when I was locked up, like I'll get into a little more of that. I'm trying to reach out to some of the guys because I don't want to like put their names online unless I have their permission. I don't need someone, you know, coming after me for like a defamation or a slander case for like saying a name. Because, you know, some people might not know that certain people were locked up. Most of them, yeah, they probably know, like their families know, or their, you know, close acquaintances, but I still got to ask permission. I want to try to do this the right way. So, does anyone have any questions for me, or like, are you guys pretty much, you know, doing okay out there? I know like we're probably all older here, so we really don't have to like ask. I think you guys probably, if you're here, you've probably either been through it or you know someone that's been through it, so you just want to maybe hear something you haven't heard before. And I get that, I understand it. You know, sometimes like people might roll by that don't know what's going on or don't have a clue that their kid's using, or you know, someone in their family or one of their cousins or even their wife or their husband is using behind their back. I'm just saying, I'm willing to help anyone that wants help. If I'm close enough to you, I volunteer. I'll come and get you. I will take you to a detox if I can. You know, I live in the Boston area, so I can only get so far. I've never been on a plane or in a helicopter or anything like that. I don't have $1 million. I wish I did. I really wish I did, because I would love to be able to, you know, go help people all over the country if I could. You know, I really wish I could do that, but right now I don't have the means to do it. That's another reason I started this channel. I just gonna wait a little while, and I want to see if I can start getting numbers built up and maybe doing like Venmo, PayPal, and you know, maybe doing like a non-profit type thing so I can just go out there and help some people. But you know, it takes a lot to do something like that. You know, I need some help. I'm working with a few of the clinicians from my clinic, or they're basically counselors, and they're giving me ideas on what I could do, because I really, really want to help some people. But I can only do so much, and with what I have right now, and it's all on me. Like anything I do, it's coming out of my pocket, which that's okay. You know, I chose this route, and I'm going to try to do the best I can. You know, like I said, if there's one person that I can like save their life or help them in any way, it makes me happy. You know, I can lay my head down at night knowing that I've never hurt no one, I've never killed anybody, and that I'm trying to help now. I'm kind of like want to give back to my community, because I was kind of a dingbat back in the day. You know, I was never out stealing or robbing, knock on wood. I did what I had to do to make money to keep my habit fed, but I wasn't doing B&Es, and I wasn't stealing cars. You know, there's a lot of people that go down that road because they have no other way. I did different things. I was selling drugs. I admit that. I was sold a lot of cocaine, late 80s, early 90s. but I paid, I paid for what I was doing. I've been incarcerated, and it wasn't short little stays. I did some good time. To me, it's good time. A day in jail's too long. Might as well a few years, and then a few more years, and then another year. It adds up. You get tired of it. I've been in the state prison. I've been in the county jail. Our county jail here, where I was going, is a supermax. It's not a kiddie camp. There is, it's modeled after that one where that guy, the bomber there, I forget his name, but the kid they got the gas there. It's the same exact setup. There's no TVs in the cell. There's no Walkmans. There's no electricity. You're locked down 22 hours a day. So you better learn to draw or learn to read books, because you're not kicking back in the cell watching TV all day. That's not happening. This place was a straight supermax. It was a brand new jail at the time when I went there. The only thing different I know now is they give you tablets in there. I mean, that would make it a big difference, because, if you're able to afford Netflix or something, you can watch movies. But how many movies can you watch in the course of a day, I myself like to keep busy, so I, would volunteer to work, because they would give you 7.5 days good time. But I was locked up, 3 years, 2.5 years, a year. So, I was there for a while. The last time I was in a unit with 165 guys, and I was there almost 3 years. That's a lot of people. It was a dorm style. It wasn't like a regular unit. It was a dorm, and that's loud. When you got 165 people all talking at once, I used to call it, it was fabulous, feet, ass, and breath, because, if you're in a row of bunk beds with 165 other guys in there, and that's 24 hours a day. You're in the unit. That was the work unit. Guys would leave, guys would come back, go to work in the kitchen, go to work down the canteen, but you're still locked in a building. You're not going anywhere. So you were basically around a minimum of 100 people at any given time. Think about that. And, being there maybe 90 days, I can see putting up with it. But what are you there when you're there for 3 years, 5 years, 6, 7, 8 years? It kind of get on your nerves, being told what to do, when to do it. Like I always say, I did the crime, but I did the time, and I did it like a man. I didn't cry about it. I shouldn't be here. Yeah, I deserve to be there, because I was doing the wrong thing. But like I said, I have not been in trouble. I've not been in handcuffs in 20 years. I think it's even been a little over 20 years, actually. Pretty much all the detectives and stuff that I used to have run-ins with are either retired, but I've seen them out there in the streets, and they actually pull over and say to me, hey, you know what? I'm glad to see you doing good, because they know what I'm about now. They know what I'm doing. They don't hear my name anymore. This one cop in town used to tell me every time I arrested someone for drugs, your name would be the first name that I hear. Because I was being followed by the South Shore Drug Task Force for years, like at least a good 10 years. I sold a lot of cocaine towards the end of the 80s, the beginning of the 90s, and it's not the best thing when you live in a small town, because people talk. And every time I would get in trouble, I'd hear, oh man, you don't know how many people were talking about you. And, people are trying to give you up to get off of their sentences, basically snitching on you, And that got kind of old too, because, I was getting tired of getting arrested, or, get up in the morning, you look out the window, and there's a detective sitting 2 houses over, backed in, reading the newspaper. And really, he's got his head over the top of the paper, and he's watching your house, I used to go through that. I'd walk out my side door, and I'd see a car, like through a couple of houses. I'd look over and see a car, and I'd get my binoculars and look, and I'd be waving at them, and they'd end up waving back to me. And I'd call the police station and say, hey, you can tell your guys they can go, because I know they're there. And then the next thing you know, you're seeing the car take off. Like, I had that type of relationship. They knew what I was doing. For a little while, they kind of laid off. I probably wasn't like, making any dust, but then it just started being my name, my name, my name. I almost blurted out my name. For people that don't know me, it was always my last name being thrown out there, especially there was 4 of us. There was 4 boys. None of us were angels, and they were probably selling too. Well, they were selling. I mean, all 4 of us were pumping drugs. So We weren't the community's best people back then. And like I said, now everyone's doing good. Everyone's older. My oldest brother's almost 70. My brother under him is 65. I'm 57. God bless my other brother. He's not here anymore. But I just try to do the best I can. I try to get my message out there. Anyone that knows me, you get stuck and you need like some information, even, and just a number for a couple local detoxes or anything like that, call me. I'm anything you need, anything. If you need help moving some furniture, I can try. I mean, my legs are pretty much shot. I mean, I can walk and everything, but I'm not the same person I used to be, 20 years ago, even 10 years ago, just health wise. My legs are bummed. So that's kind of a bummer too. But I'm just glad things are going good for me right now. I guess I listen to a few people. I try to put this channel together, and I'm doing it for like people out there. I'm hoping I get a lot more people on here. I'm hoping the content will get better. Maybe my nerves will settle a little bit. I don't know if you guys can tell, but I'm nervous. I'm talking to people I don't know, and sometimes it kind of freaks me out a little bit. Plus, I was eating pizza last night after I did my first live, and I bit into it, and it was hot as hell, and I got a big burn on the roof of my mouth, and it's actually killing me. If I'm talking a little funny, that's why. It's like killing me. I can't even really smoke. I usually smoke a couple cigarettes an hour. Last night I was puffing like a broken stove, and tonight I don't even want to smoke because every time I take a drag, it's killing me. I want to thank you guys for being here, showing up for the meeting, And like I said, if you can, like, subscribe, put the word out there, get people to sub my channel. All you got to do is look up at Boston Bill with a capital B on Boston, capital B on Bill, and hit the subscribe button. Someone that's having trouble and like they need someone to talk to, or they need some phone numbers and they're in this area. If they're not in this area, you can still give me a buzz. I'll still go on the computer and try to help you. If you're in California, Hawaii, wherever, I'm home. I'm retired, I'll sit down at my desk and I'll do what I can. I'll get in contact with you and I will help you because that's what I want to do. I just want to give back to people that need help. Sometimes people don't want to try to help themselves, And if a family member's helping, I'll help you guys and try to take the pressure off of you guys too. Just please get a hold of me. Anytime you can go on the page and you can leave a comment or a post. And if it's like a message, you can leave it for me and I'll get back to you, So again, my name is Bill. I'm 57 years old. I'm from Boston, Massachusetts. I was born and raised here. I'm Italian descent. I'm in recovery. I've got almost 20 years clean under my belt, and I'm here to just get the word out that there is hope for anybody that has trouble with drugs and or alcohol, and I'm willing to help. And please smash the like button and sub. Like I said, pass the word along to friends. I'm willing to help anyone. And I'm going to wrap this up because the tablet's kind of blowing up here. And I know, like I said, I got to go do something for somebody. And maybe tonight you guys can say a prayer for him because he's got a rough road ahead too, And you guys have been great, and thank you. And every night I usually go live around 6:30. I'm gonna start doing longer sessions. It's just I gotta read some of my journals so I can, get like during the day I go through them and I make a little list for you guys of certain topics. Like last night was crazy. I think I was on for almost an hour and a half. I had a whole house full of people here, and I like a dingbat. I went and erased a live. Now I'm pissed, but I try. So, all right, guys, it's been real. It's been fun. And again, if you want to come back tomorrow night, 6:30, I go live Eastern Standard Time, Boston, Mass. And much love. Be blessed. Oh, and it's Valentine's Day tomorrow. Make sure you get your girl some chocolates or your man. And, call your mom, tell her you love her, or your dad, your siblings. But love to everyone, and I'll see you tomorrow night.